As the last notes of Jungkook's revelation faded into the soft hum of an online audience holding their breath, a wave of confusion followed. Social media went ablaze, not just with excitement, but with speculation, panic, even fear. Fans weren't merely reacting to what Jungkook said, they were analyzing what Taehyung didn't. And that silence? It wasn't empty. It was filled with questions. Deafening questions. Why now? Why Jungkook? Why Hollywood? Why silence from the member who once called him my other half on stage? Why is the warmest, most expressive voice in the group suddenly absent when the biggest news drops? Was it professional? Was it emotional? Was it the beginning of something bigger? Or the quiet signal of something ending? As we unpack this moment, emotions ripple in layers. Those who followed BTS from the very beginning know this isn't just a boy band story anymore. It's legacy, it's brotherhood, it's identity. And now it's change. Jungkook has always been known as the Golden Magne, the youngest who could do it all. Sing, dance, paint, produce. But until now, his dreams of Hollywood were quietly guarded, rarely discussed openly. So why reveal it now? Why America? He said, "It's a story I didn't think I'd tell yet." Those words felt like a whisper to someone unseen, a confession meant not just for fans, but maybe for someone close who didn't expect to hear it like this. Maybe someone watching. Maybe someone who didn't reply. Taehyung was in the same city, just days before the live stream. Fans captured footage of him walking solo through downtown Los Angeles, hoodie up, headphones in, AirPods off. Not smiling, not waving, just moving, as if in thought, as if already carrying the weight of something that hadn't been said yet. Could he have known, in a fandom that prides itself on connection, this moment created a rupture, an emotional cliffhanger too raw to ignore? Not because Jungkook's secret was shocking, but because the silence that followed it was more powerful than the reveal itself. Inside industry circles, whispers suggest Taehyung had plans of his own. Rumors of a jazz-focused EP, even art gallery pop-ups in Paris. But was Jungkook's Hollywood step something he knew about? Supported? Was the silence agreement or distance? The emotional temperature rose when fans noticed something subtle. The background in Jungkook's live stream was eerily similar to the studio once shared by both of them. It wasn't just the lighting. It was the guitar on the wall, the scent diffuser on the shelf, the space they used during the making of Friends, a track that held their bond like a diary pressed in melody. Was this a callback? A tribute? Or a silent confrontation? Jungkook's eyes flickered once when someone mentioned V in the comments. No response. Just a breath. A shift. And then back to his usual tone. That brief second was enough to send entire Twitter threads spiraling into breakdowns and theory-building frenzies. Some fans theorized the silence was carefully planned. A media strategy. Build mystery, some experts claimed. Silence is the best PR. But BTS has never played that game. Their honesty, their rawness, is what built their empire. So why now would they start cloaking the truth in shadows? Or maybe it's not strategy. Maybe it's sorrow. Maybe it's the bittersweet truth of growing up, growing out, and growing apart. Even if love remains, behind every great reveal is the cost of that revelation. And here, Jungkook may have opened a door that forces the world and his bandmates to confront a future where not everything happens together. A future where solo doesn't mean betrayal, but evolution. But for fans used to togetherness, that shift still hurts. And yet, amid the tension, there is poetry. Jungkook's leap into Hollywood isn't just a career milestone. It's a metaphor for how far they've come, for how brave one must be to say, "I'm ready to try something alone." But that bravery doesn't come without loneliness, without risk, without questions, and Taehyung's silence? It too might be a kind of bravery. The bravery to step back, to feel first, to understand privately before speaking publicly. Maybe he's writing a letter we haven't read yet. Maybe he's crafting a response not in words, but in music. Or maybe he's simply watching, choosing presence over reaction. The beauty of BTS has never just been in the music. It's in the moments between the music. The gaze held a little longer. The hand reached behind the curtain, the breath before the beat drops. This moment is one of those. Tense, uncertain, human, and now we all wait. Will Taehyung speak? Will the silence break into a melody? A post? A project? Or is the silence itself the message? And what will Jungkook do next? Now that the secret is out, will he take center stage in a film that reshapes his identity? Will he become not just a global idol, but a global icon, crossing industries and languages with the same ease he crossed notes and stages? Whatever comes, this moment will linger. Because it wasn't just a secret, it was a signal. And maybe, just maybe, the silence that followed wasn't absence, but anticipation. Because in stories this deep, sometimes the most powerful sound is the one we're still waiting to hear. As the world refreshes Taehyung's social feeds, waits for a Weverse notification, a subtle Instagram post, a story, a lyric, even a glimpse, a simple emoji would be enough. Time slows. Millions of fans wait not just for an answer, but for closure. Because this silence isn't just about what was said. It's about what was never expected. And the hours after Jungkook's announcement, speculation ignited into wildfire. Some fans tried to reassure others, saying they've always supported each other, while others whispered doubts, more quietly than usual. But all agreed on one thing. Something was different. Something had shifted. Something that wasn't supposed to happen without all seven. Without him, the contrast was almost cinematic. Jungkook, in sleek lighting, eyes shimmering with excitement, talking about scripts, scenes, American directors. And Taehyung, somewhere in the same country, maybe even in the same city, watching, listening, deciding whether to respond, deciding if he could. There were moments that stung harder than expected. One particular live stream clip caught attention. Jungkook, mid-sentence, pauses and smiles faintly. Not his usual bright grin, but something more thoughtful. There's someone who used to say, "I should try acting," he said, then looked away. He didn't name Taehyung. He didn't have to. That line cut deeper than any confirmation. Fans remembered the old variety show clips, the mock skits, the way Taehyung would playfully coach Jungkook's serious face and tell him, "You could be a movie star if you wanted." It was inside joke, encouragement, prophecy, and now the prophecy had come true, but in the most unexpected way. Without the dreamers standing side by side, the emotional weight of this reveal became unbearable for some fans. One fan thread that went viral featured a side-by-side of old concert footage, Jungkook and Taehyung joking during the Spring Day encore, next to screenshots of the new Hollywood rumor headlines. The tweet read, "What do you do when your shared dream becomes a solo flight?" And therein lies the heartbreak, masked behind excitement. This wasn't just about career divergence. It was about time, about memory, about the sacred, unspoken promise between artists who rise together, to never let the spotlight separate the ones who built the stage. Where does that leave us? Right now, somewhere in the shadows of Los Angeles or Seoul, or perhaps mid-flight between continents, Taehyung is quiet. But he's never been absent. Silence, in his case, has always been deliberate. Sometimes it precedes poetry. Sometimes it's the verse itself. Taehyung has always been a master of pacing, of timing. When he released Scenery, it came unannounced. When Blue and Gray appeared, it was like a mirror held up to his soul. And now, with the world hanging onto a single non-word from him, the next sound might not be a sentence, but a song. And what a moment it would be if the answer didn't come through a press release or a casual "I'm proud of him," but a lyric carved from glass and shadow, echoing with things too delicate for plain speech. Meanwhile, Jungkook continues. As filming rumors solidify, as LA paparazzi whisper of set sightings, as HYB crafts a rollout plan that bridges industries, the world is seeing a new version of him emerge, still golden, but with the weight of legacy on his shoulders now. And yet, even as he stands on this solo mountain, you can sense it. He's looking over his shoulder. He knows what they built wasn't meant to fracture, even if it bends. He knows fans aren't afraid of change. They're afraid of loss. He knows that no matter how high the lights of Hollywood shine, the ones that mean the most come from 6 other directions. each member casting their own unique glow. He knows Taehyung is watching, and maybe that's why he hasn't said more. Maybe that's why the live stream, though historic, felt intimate, conflicted, as if he were both proud and pained. As if this moment, long awaited, came tethered to a heartbeat not entirely his own. Now the world holds its breath. The fandom has entered what they're calling the quiet era. Not quiet because nothing is happening, but because something big. This moment is becoming history. And like all true turning points, it's surrounded by questions. What does the future of BTS look like if one member becomes a Hollywood star? If two of them stop speaking publicly? If growth means more distance, more individual branding, more time apart? Or could this simply be the next natural chapter? Could Jungkook's success open doors not just for himself, but for Taehyung, for all of them? Could his role spark a film interest Taehyung has long whispered about in interviews? Could this be not a separation, but a signal that BTS is evolving once again, breaking the very definition of what a group is supposed to be? Only time will answer, but one thing is certain. The bond between Jungkook and Taehyung has never been ordinary. It has never been simple, and it has never been performative. It is real, messy, complex, beautiful, just like this moment. And so we wait for the post that could come at midnight, for the track that might drop without warning, for the interview where someone finally says, "Yes, we talked." For the moment when silence breaks, not because it has to, but because it's ready. And when it does, it will be seismic. Because silence this loud only breaks when the message is worth it. Jungkook has become more than the youngest member of a once underground Korean boy group turned global powerhouse. Now, with the murmurs of his Hollywood debut turning into headlines, red carpets, and whispers of Oscar-worthy potential, he is stepping into a world that very few from his background have walked into unchaperoned, unscripted, and undeniably alone. And yet the air doesn't feel victorious. It feels conflicted. Every article that celebrates Jungkook's bold career step is met with another that wonders, why now? Why solo? Why so silent from the people who made this journey with him? Fans can't stop talking about the live stream that didn't feature Taehyung, or the red carpet debut that didn't have the signature 7 behind it. People noticed. Everyone noticed. Even if you wanted to avoid the storm, it would find you. TikTok Reels layered Jungkook's announcement with slowed down, echo-heavy voiceovers of past Taehyung quotes. On Instagram, side-by-sides of their Run BTS moments and this new solitary frame of Jungkook trended under the hashtag #WhereIsTaehyung. On Twitter, fans were divided, not in anger, but in emotion. Some defending Jungkook's right to fly, others mourning the distance it revealed. And through it all, Taehyung remains unspoken, still. Even in silence, he speaks. Just days after the announcement, fans spotted a photo uploaded to his private Finsta, later leaked by a close circle. It showed a torn movie ticket stub.
No caption. No tab.
But the title scribbled on the stub was unmistakable. The very film Jungkook is rumored to be filming. The internet froze. Was this a sign of support? A quiet nod? A bittersweet acknowledgement? No one knows. The silence remains. But that's the thing about real stories. They're not built in press statements or marketing schedules. They live in the quiet spaces, the hesitation in a voice, the pause before a chorus, the untagged photo on a blurry Instagram story. And if you know how to read between the silences, the truth is screaming. Taehyung may be quiet, but he's not disconnected. In fact, he may be more deeply connected now than ever, processing, reflecting, creating. He is, after all, the artist of the shadows. His art has always leaned into emotional depth. His photos, his words, his music, it all lingers in mood more than message. He doesn't scream to be heard. He whispers to be felt. And maybe that's what this moment is. Not a breakup, not a betrayal, but a breath. Because how else do you respond when your closest companion crosses into a world you both dreamed of, but only one of you is called into first? Maybe the silence isn't hurt. Maybe it's awe. But the media doesn't like stillness. It needs a headline. It needs resolution. It wants a photo of the two of them hugging it out backstage. Or a tweet that says, "So proud of you, bro." But Taehyung has never played by the script.
His truths come slowly.
When they're ready, and so we wait. But here's the wild part. Jungkook is waiting too. He might not say it, but in every camera angle, every interview he's done since, there's a flicker. An unfinished sentence. A name not mentioned. A gaze to the left. Something unsaid. And it makes sense. Their history is not shallow. This is the same duo that shared dreams late into the night. The same two who wandered New York streets together during debut days. The same voices who created Friends, a song now tinged with nostalgia and maybe longing. What happens to a friendship that grows up in front of the world? What happens when one dreamer climbs first and the other watches from the base of the hill, camera in hand, waiting for the right light? Maybe the most powerful love stories are the ones that never have to be explained. Maybe theirs isn't broken. Maybe it's transforming. Let's not forget, silence is never empty. It's full of music that hasn't been written yet, full of films that haven't been cast, full of conversations that need the right moment to begin. Right now, Taehyung may be working on something that will answer the silence, not with words, but with soul. A music video, a letter, a voice note, a verse. And when it arrives, it will not be expected. It will not be polished. It will not be calculated. IT will be real. And in that moment, the entire world will exhale, because we aren't just watching Jungkook rise. We're witnessing the evolution of a bond so iconic it no longer needs proof to be felt. This is not the end. This is the space between chapters. The kind that only the truest stories survive. Refresh your feeds. Rewatch the live stream. Re-listen to Friends. Hold on to your breath, because when Taehyung finally speaks, however he chooses to, every second of this silence will suddenly make sense.